Hi everyone, I'm going to share with you 6 balancing equation problems, and I'm going to write them and not type them so you can see the subscripts on the equation. So let me put up my writing tool and do it in black ink. That would be good. Okay, so the first one is aluminum and oxygen. So a solid aluminum combines with oxygen gas to produce aluminum oxide. And the formula of the aluminum oxide is aluminum 2, oxygen 3, so Al2O3. So first thing I always want to do is draw a line separating my reactants from my products. So there's my line. So remember, this is my reactants side. So this is my reactants. I can write reactants where you can read it, maybe. And then my left side, remember, is my products. And I want to count the number of each atom on each side. So the total number of the ones on the left, the reactant side, need to match with the exact number of products on the right side. So I need the exact same amount of atoms and same atoms. So first I'll count aluminum, and there's no there's no subscript there. There's no subscript right here, so that's just going to be a 1. Then if I count the number of oxygen, it has subscript of 2, so that's going to be 2 oxygen. Now I'll go on the product side and have subscript of 2, so that gives me 2 aluminum. Oxygen has subscript of 3, so there's 3 oxygen. And I look at my aluminum, 1 and 2, that's not balanced. The oxygen, 2 and 3, that's not balanced. So I have nothing that's working out right now. So let me see what I need to work on first. So I look at the oxygen, because that's a 2 and 3. The aluminum's an easy fix. If I put a 2 there in front of my aluminum, it's really not fixing anything with my oxygen. So I'm not going to touch that right now. So let me first worry about my oxygen. So I have 2 and 3. So I need to find the least common multiple. And the least common multiple of 2 and 3 is 6. So what do I need to multiply by 2 to get 6? I need to multiply it by 3. And I'm doing this part in red so you can see it. So now you multiply the 3 times the 2 you started with. That'll give you 6 oxygen atoms. And then I have a 3 oxygen on the products. So what number times 3 gives me 6? It would be a 2. So I put a 2 coefficient in front. Okay, so I need to always goes in the front. Remember, you cannot put your coefficient in the middle. Coefficients always go in front. So instead of 1 molecule of Al2O3, now I have 2 molecules of Al2O3. And then we want to distribute it. So 2 times the 2 you started with gives you now 4 atoms of oxygen, and 2 times the 3 gives me 6 atoms of oxygen. So I fixed my oxygens, but I just screwed up my aluminum even more. So I only have 1 on the reactants, but I have 4 on the products. Always go to who has less and fix them. You can't make the one that has 4 go down again. You just have to move up the one that only has 1. So what times 1 gives me 4? Well, that would be a 4. Remember where the 4 goes. It always goes in front. So I have 4 aluminum now. Okay, so I have 4 aluminum, 6 oxygen. Everything is balanced now. So that one is finished. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to switch back to black. This one's a longer one. So we have silver nitrate, AgNO3. Okay, and it reacts with copper to produce silver and copper nitrate. Okay, so, oops, this is supposed to be a 2 right here. My mistake. There should be a parentheses and a 2 on the outside. I was just writing and wasn't thinking as I was writing, but that's correct now. Okay, so let's draw our line and start counting. Okay, so I have Ag, and I have 1 of them. And then I look and see, I've got a parentheses around the NO3 on the right side, but no parentheses around the NO3 on the left. So I'm going to put a parentheses around it because I don't want to count each atom individually. I'm going to count that whole NO3 as one entity, okay, as one set. So each time I make a set, I need 1 nitrogen and 3 oxygen atoms. Total of 4 atoms, okay? But when I count how many NO3 sets do I have on the left side, on the reactants, I just have 1, okay? So just like math, you're looking for the number on the outside, the parentheses. There is no number on the outside of the parentheses, so that means you just have 1. Okay, then I look at my copper, and I just have 1 there. There's no coefficient here, so it's just a 1. Then I go to my product side, the right side, and count my silver, and I don't have any number there, so that's just a 1. Then I count my copper. Now this 2, remember, only affects who's in the parentheses. So that 2 is not for the copper. He doesn't have a number behind him. If he doesn't have a number, he's a 1. And then I count the number of NO3 that I need to make this formula. The total amount of NO3 is just 2. I'm not counting how many Ns I need and how many oxygen I need. If I distribute it, I can go, oh, okay, then I need 2 Ns and I need 6 oxygen to make this. And you can do that. You can count each individually if you want, but I like to take a shortcut and just count the whole thing as a set of 2, whereas just this one is a set of just 1 on the reactant side, okay? So now when I look, I see it's my NO3 is the problem, that I have 1 NO3 in the reactants, but I have 2 on the products. So I always go to who has less. What number can I multiply by 1 to get 2? Well, that would be a 2. So let me change this to red now. So I'm going to put a 2 in front. Always in front, never in the middle. This changed 1 molecule. Now I need 2 molecules of this silver nitrate. And so now I have 2 atoms of silver, and I have 2 sets of the NO3. And you could count them individually, and you can say, okay, now I need 2 nitrogens and I need 6 oxygen, or you can just do my shortcut. If you look at it, it's going to end up exactly the same, right? So now my NO3s are balanced. But now I just screwed up my silvers, right? I had 1 silver on each side. Now I've got 2 on the reactants and only 1 on the products. So I go back to my product since it's less. It only has 1 atom. What can I multiply to 1 to get 2? Well, I need to multiply by 2, but never put this. That just changed the formula. That's a no-no. Bad. I want to put the 2 in front. So when I put the 2 in front, now that gives me also 2 Ag. Okay, it would balance it if you put a 2 in the back, a subscript, but that's going to totally change the substance, and that's not allowed. The only numbers you can place are the coefficients in front. Okay, let's look at the next problem. So I solved that one, I solved this one. We're going to do calcium carbonate. Let me change my color back to black. So calcium carbonate, CaCO3, plus, calcium carbonate breaks down and makes calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Oops, calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Okay, so calcium carbonate breaks down to make calcium oxide and calcium dioxide. So I want to put my line down the middle, start counting. So I have 1 calcium, he has no number behind. Remember, you're looking for a capital letter. Whenever you have a capital letter, that means an element. But this lowercase a means it's still part of that Ca. Okay, it's all together. Now here, this is carbon because this is a capital O. So I have 1 carbon, but then I also have the O there. Okay, and I have 3 O's. Okay, so this is 2 capital letters. If this O was lowercase, then it would just be 1 element, CO, but it's C and then a separate O. Okay, so now let's go to the product side. So I still have 1 calcium, so that's okay. And now when I look at my O's, you want to be careful. You have 1 O here, but you also have 2 O's here. So 1 plus the 2 gives me 3 O's. And then the carbon, I just have 1 over here. Now, if you look at this equation, you can see now there's nothing I need to do. This one's already balanced, okay? There's no additional work I need to do. It's already balanced. I'm done. I've solved, okay? So sometimes it'll be balanced, or sometimes I'll tell you, find the equation that's balanced. Then you just have to count for each one of them and find which one of those equations is not balanced correctly, okay? And then the one that is balanced, there's your answer. But I would check them all before you decided. Okay, so problem number 4. Water H2O and iron. So H2O and iron. So this is how something rusts. If you leave your bike outside, you leave anything made of iron outside, it's going to get rusty if it rains. Produce Fe2O3. That's the formula for rust. Fe2 and then O3. And it also produces hydrogen gas, H2. So water and iron react and form iron oxide, Fe2O3, and hydrogen gas, H2. So let me start counting. So my hydrogen is 2. Okay, my oxygen is 1, no subscript there. And same with iron, he doesn't have any subscript, so there's just 1 iron. Okay, so it looks simple on this side. This side's more complicated on the products. So my iron, I have 2. My oxygen, I have 3. And the hydrogen, I have 2. So everyone on this side has a subscript. Okay, so I'm going to switch to my red. Okay, so my hydrogen is good. My oxygen and iron is bad. Now, I'm going to fix my oxygen first because the iron is by himself. So remember, if I said if there's someone that's a pure element, I want to fix him last. The hydrogen's also by himself, but hydrogen's already balanced, so I'm not going to worry about the hydrogen right now. Okay, I'm going to worry about the oxygen and see how I can fix the oxygen. Okay, so let's see. I have 3 oxygen and I have 1. So I want to go to this one that has 1. I always go to the one that has less. And what can I multiply by 1 to get 3? Well, that would be 3. So I want to put a 3 in front. And so now I have 3 times 2. That gives me now 6 hydrogen. Okay. And 3 times my 1 oxygen gives me 3 oxygen. So now my oxygen are okay. Okay. But now I screwed up my hydrogen and my iron are still messed up, right? So let's fix the hydrogen now. So I have 6 hydrogen and I only have 2. Always go to who has less. So what can I multiply to the 2 to get 6? I can multiply it by 3. Oops, why did I put the 3 there? I want to put the 3 here. Okay, so the 3 goes there. Now I have 3 times the 2. Okay, that gives me 6 hydrogen atoms. Okay, so my hydrogen's fixed, but my iron's still messed up. I have 2 on the products and only 1 on the reactants. So I want to make the reactants add up to 2. So 1 times what gives me 2? It's going to be a 2. Remember, coefficient in front, never change the subscript behind. Okay, so now with that number, now I have 2 iron. And my equation is balanced. Okay, so that's problem 4. Let's move on to problem 5. And yes, I'm keeping track with the little list. And what I will do is I will publish this list of problems on the website, and you can use them to practice. So iron plus hydrochloric acid gives you aluminum chloride and hydrogen gas. So this is what happens if you take pure aluminum metal and put it in hydrochloric acid. It's going to react and produce something new, aluminum chloride and hydrogen gas. Sorry about that cough. So I want to count my number of aluminum, and I just have 1. Then I count my number of hydrogen. I also have 1. And then I count that chlorine. Well, guess what? It also has 1. No one has subscripts on the reactant side, so everything's a 1. So then I go to my product side. My aluminum, I still got 1 over here. Chlorine, I've got 3. Okay, so that's not good. And my hydrogen, I have 2. Okay. So my aluminum is balanced. That's fine. I don't need to worry about it. But my hydrogen and chlorine are not. I got 1 hydrogen, 2 hydrogen, 1 chlorine, and 3 chlorine. So that's not okay. Now remember my tip. Okay, they're both messed up, but look at hydrogen. He's over here by himself. I want to fix him last. I'm going to fix my chlorine first. Okay, so let me try to fix my chlorine. Okay, so I always go to who has less. I have 1 chlorine and I have 3. Well, that doesn't work out. So let me change this to 3 chlorine. Okay, so I'll add a 3 in front of here. Okay, so now that gives me 3 hydrogen, and it also gives me 3 chlorine. So my chlorine are balanced. I got 3 chlorine on the left, 3 chlorine on the right. That's good. Okay, but my hydrogen, I just messed up bad on my hydrogen because there's nothing I can multiply to 2 to make it 3. So I got to find the next multiple that works. Okay, so I tried this multiple of chlorine as being 3, but that didn't work. So the next multiple of 3 is 6. So you just jump to the next multiple of 3. So 3 didn't work, so the next multiple of 3 would be 6. So I'm going to change this 3 instead of a 3. Now I'm going to try a 6. Okay, so I'm going to write a 6 up here on top because the 3 didn't work out. So now instead of 3 hydrogen, multiply the 6 times the 1, I have 6 hydrogen and 6 chlorine. Okay, so now I go back and look at this over here, but my chlorine was 3, but now I have 6 chlorine. So what can I multiply by my 3 to get 6? I need to multiply it by 2. And remember, that 2 has to go in front. So now I have 2 aluminum, because remember that coefficient is also affecting my aluminum. And now 2 times the 3 gives me 6 chlorine. Okay, so my chlorine's good, but now I just messed up my aluminum. And my hydrogen's still messed up. So let me go look at my hydrogen. I have 6 hydrogen on the reactants and only 2 on the products. So those 2 atoms, I need to get to 6. So what can I multiply by the 2 to get 6? I can multiply it by 3. So now 3 times that 2. Okay, so now I've got my 6 hydrogen. My hydrogen are balanced, but my aluminum still aren't balanced. I've got 2 and I've got 1. Always go to who has less. I need to multiply that 1 by 2 to get it balanced. But remember, that 2 has to go in the front. It has to be a coefficient, not a subscript in the back. Putting a 2 right there, no, not okay. Nope, only the 2 in front. So with that 2 in front, I now have 2 atoms of 2 atoms of aluminum, and my equation is balanced. I got 2 aluminum, 6 hydrogen, 6 hydrogen, 6 chlorine, 6 chlorine. Everything works out. Okay, one last equation here. So ammonia, NH3, let me change my color, reacts with oxygen gas. So NH3 reacts with oxygen gas, O2, and produces nitrogen monoxide, NO, and don't like my spacing on my plus sign. I'm going to put plus here. I need to put more space in the back. And water, H2O. Okay, let me put my line down the middle. Start counting. Okay, so my number of N's is 1, because there's no subscript. My H's are 3, and my O's are 2. Okay, now on this side, I still have 1 N, so my N's are okay. My O's, however, be careful. You got 1 O here, but you have 1 over there. So a total of 2 O's. And the H has a subscript at 2, so he's got 2. Okay, so let's see. My nitrogen are good. I have 1 nitrogen, that checks out. My oxygen, however, I've got 2 and 2. Wait a minute, that's good. It's my hydrogen. I got 3 hydrogen and I've got 2 hydrogen. Okay, that doesn't work out. Okay, so I need the least common multiple. So the least common multiple of 3 and 2 is 6. So I need to multiply the reactants by 2, but I need to multiply the products by 3. So 3 times what gives me 6? That's going to be a 2. So let me change this to red. So remember, I need to put this in front. Okay, so I change my coefficient. So now I have 2 nitrogen and I have 6 hydrogen. Okay, that works out. All right, so now let me go back and change the other side. So I just changed my hydrogen to 2. My hydrogen has 2, but I want to have 6. So what times 2 gives me 6? Well, that would be 3. Okay, so now I have 6 hydrogen, but be careful. I have 3 oxygen here, plus the 1 here. That gives me 4 oxygen now. So my total oxygen is 4 because I have 1 in the NO and I have 3 in the H2O. So I have a total of 4 oxygen in total. Okay. But remember, I want to fix oxygen last because he's by himself. So next thing I want to fix is nitrogen. So I had 2 nitrogen on the reactants, and I'll have 1 on the products. So I need to multiply him by 2. So now I have 2 nitrogen. But carefully count up my number of oxygen. I have 2 oxygen right here with the NO, but I have 3 right here with the H2O. That gives me a total of 5. Uh-ohs, that don't work out. Because if you look at your reactants, I have 2 oxygen here, 2 atoms of oxygen. There's nothing I can multiply to 2 oxygen to make it odd. So there's no way I'm going to come up with an odd number like 5. So these coefficients don't work. So I need to go to the next coefficient. Okay. So remember we fixed our hydrogen first. So hydrogen, we did a multiple of 6, right? So we did a multiple of 6. So what's the next multiple of 2 and 3 after 6? Okay, so the next multiple of 3 is 9, but that doesn't work for 2. So the next multiple of hydrogen for 2 and 3, 6 didn't work out. The next one would be 12. Okay, so these numbers don't work. So I'm going to cross out all my numbers. I'm just going to cross them all out. Wish I had the little eraser, but I don't have no little eraser. Sorry, no little eraser. Okay. All right, so, and these numbers are all going to change too. So I can do this. Let's try doing this. Let's go back and erase all the little things I did. See if I can. Okay, so I erased everything I did. So this hydrogen was 6 before, but now we need to try for a multiple of 12. So 3 times what's going to give me a multiple of 12? That'd be 4. So I'm going to put a number 4 here in front. Okay, and that's going to give me 12 hydrogen, but it also gives me 4 nitrogen, right? I had 1 nitrogen times the 4, that's going to give me 12. Okay, now let's go back to this side, to the hydrogen. So I need to be a multiple of 12, and I only have 2. So what times 2 gives me 12? Well, that'd be 6. So I'm going to put number 6 right here. Okay, so that's going to give me 12 hydrogen now. Okay, but carefully, it gives me 6 oxygen here, but I have 1 there. So I have a total of 7 oxygen right now. So 1 in the NO plus the 6 in the H2O. But remember, oxygen gets fixed last because he's by himself on the reactants. Always fix who's solo last because he's alone. Okay, so now I need to fix my nitrogen. I had 4 nitrogen, I only have 1. So what times the 1 gives me 4? That would be 4. Okay, so I got to put 4 here in front. Okay, so that gives me that 4 in, but now how many oxygen do I have? I have 4 with the NO here, so that's 4 here, plus the 6 over here. That gives me a total of 10 oxygen. Okay, that's 10 oxygen. So I got to go back to my reactant side. I only have 2 oxygen. What times 2 is going to give me 10? That would be a 5. So I want to put a 5 in front. 5 times that 2. Now I've got 10 oxygen. Yeah, that was a bit ugly. Oh, 0. That's better. Okay, and now I'm balanced. Everything works out. Okay, so make sure you double check if your first check doesn't work, and when you correct it, then go back and try the next multiple. Okay, so my multiple of 6 didn't work, so next multiple of 2 and 3 was 12, and then I have to try that one to see if it works out. Okay, hope this helped. If you have questions, send me an email.